back to the Dan O'Donnell Show. Each day this week, we are interviewing lieutenant governor candidates who are running in the Republican primary. There are 8 of them. Yesterday, we talked with State Senator Roger Roth, as well as Cindy Werner. And today, we are joined live in studio by candidate Will Martin. Will, welcome to the program. Really do appreciate you coming in.
Thanks so much for having me.
So tell us who you are, what's your background, and why are you the best candidate to be on the ticket this November?
Well, thanks so much. I'm Will Martin, running for lieutenant governor. I was born in Tennessee, almost a hillbilly, poorer than some, but rich in family. Born on Juneteenth, Freedom Day, the day the last slaves understood that they were free. And my great-grandfather was actually the first generation in our family who was born free. So freedom and opportunity mean a lot to me. At 14, I started my first job. By 16, I studied overseas in Israel, got a scholarship for a great education in Wisconsin. Got a chance to work for Tommy Thompson, led his welfare to work reforms, $250 million of that implementation, helping cut the caseload in half in 2 years, and then started my own business. Have done that for 20 years, including advising the Israeli, British, and Dutch governments on reforms based on Wisconsin, and then came back to help Scott Walker to do some major reforms as well, including President Trump's opportunity zones and designating those across the state of Wisconsin. I'm running now to make sure that, for me, this has been the opportunity state. And I want to make sure that every person in the state of Wisconsin knows this is their opportunity state.
When you say opportunity state, what do you mean, and do you believe that Wisconsin has the same opportunities now under the Evers administration as it did when you were working in the Walker administration?
I don't. I mean, part of the problem right now is even financial freedom. The fact that so much of Wisconsinites' money is being sucked up by this bloated state government. I'll give you an example. It's now $11.5 billion larger, the state government is today, than when Scott Walker left office 3 years ago. We're now spending almost as much as Illinois. $46 billion is spent every year by the state of Illinois for just under 13 million residents. Wisconsin is now spending nearly $44 billion for residents of less than 6 million here. So a lot of the money is being used and wasted by state government. It's a bloated administration today. I'm running to make sure that we cut the size, the cost, the taxes, and regulations so people can get back their freedom, breathe a little freer financially, get the state of Wisconsin open for business again, and people back to work.
Would that be your focus? Because the last Republican Lieutenant Governor, Rebecca Clayfish, took on the role of promoting business development in Wisconsin, getting new businesses here in the state. Is that what you would see your role? Because for those who are unfamiliar, the role of Lieutenant Governor has no actual, I shouldn't say no actual constitutional responsibilities, but there's nothing in the state constitution that says what it is that the Lieutenant Governor does. And that offers a whole lot of freedom to work with the governor to develop a role. Would your role be expanding opportunity and freedom to do business, or would it be something else?
So that's certainly part of it, because Wisconsin is not going to have a tax base if we don't actually rebuild. Tony Evers helped shut down our businesses, schools, and churches, and we're still struggling to come back from that. Many rural areas and urban areas that have seen that devastation have not come back from those losses, including 40% of African-American businesses shut down permanently. Many of our rural areas have emptied out their downtowns because of Tony Evers. So that's certainly part of it. But the number one job for me is to make sure that in the first 30 days of the administration, we've got to get a new budget together. This budget has grown ridiculously, 15% just since Scott Walker left. Getting that budget down, and I don't need on-the-job training for this. I know the budget. We've got 5 agencies doing economic development. We don't need 5. We need 1 accountable agency. We've got 74,000 people working for the state of Wisconsin. That's the size of Racine, our 5th largest city. Getting this budget down means more breathing room for Wisconsin families and businesses so they can actually put it back to work.
Are you saying you're in favor of dramatically reducing the size of state government and cutting agencies? Which ones specifically?
Absolutely. So I'll tell you right now, we have 5, as I mentioned, that are responsible for doing economic development. We don't need 5 agencies doing it. So I believe in consolidating the number of agencies, reducing the number of staff, and it's okay. We have 138,000 private sector jobs open today in Wisconsin, and making sure that we cut these tax taxes. Some candidates have talked about just simply eliminating a tax, but don't have a plan for actually how to cut the state budget. And when you don't have a dollar being cut, but you're cutting a tax, what they're really telling you is they're going to shift the cost on you on a different tax. It's going to mean double digits on sales tax. I've got the experience to cut this budget and make sure that we actually become fiscally solvent again.
So it sounds to me like your biggest priority is going to be good government. It sounds to me like it's going to be actually reducing the size of government. There are two candidates in this race who have legislative experience. There are 8 candidates in this race who believe that they're the best for various reasons. They're community leaders. You have worked in 2 different gubernatorial administrations. Why, more than any other candidate, would you be a boon to the gubernatorial ticket? Because for those who are unfamiliar with how the lieutenant governor office works and how elections work in this state, the candidates for lieutenant governor actually run in the primary on Tuesday, and then the winner is added to the ticket. So the ticket would be, for example, Tim Michaels, Will Martin, or Rebecca Clayfish, Will Martin. Martin would essentially be, if he wins the primary, the running mate. Mm-hmm. So that means there's a big role before you're even elected is to benefit the ticket. How specifically do you benefit that ticket in a way that none of the other 7 candidates do?
In 2 ways. One is being able to carry our message all over the state of Wisconsin, including to communities of color. They're often conservative, but have not been asked to vote Republican. I'm making that invitation. I'm actually right now been invited to write a weekly column for 2 of the African American newspapers. I'm working with the Hispanic community. Every vote that we bring over from communities that have traditionally voted Democratic is another vote that Tony Evers will not get to get another 4 years in this state. So that's one. But 2, it's more important not just to win, but to be able to govern for the next 4 years. And I'm ready on day 1 to be able to do that. I understand the budget. I've worked in multiple departments, and I've seen this government from a very different perspective. There is no candidate in this race who's actually worked for any of the administrations. I worked for the last 2 Republican administrations that our listeners have, supported. I'm ready to make sure the next Republican governor is ready to run.
And that obviously is a big role. It's really a focus on what you need to do. That needs to be your focus in the short term. So I guess my question would be, you focused a lot on the budget. What would be your top budget priority? We've established that you want to eliminate a whole lot of state agencies, but what would be your number 1 funding priority?
Well, the first reason that I'm so focused on cutting the size of state government is because people deserve their money back. I really believe that they can spend it better than the government can, just as Reagan believed. In terms of spending priorities, I think we've got to make sure that we provide a 21st century education that our children deserve. All the candidates are talking about universal school choice, but because we're really electing the CEO and COO of the largest institution in the state of Wisconsin, I'm running on my experience to be able to help get these done. We're not running for chief legislator. We're running for a management position, and I've actually managed $250 million of the Welfare to Work initiatives and other initiatives for both Governors Walker and Thompson. In this instance, I want to make sure not only that we do universal school choice, but I know we've got to dismantle the Department of Public Indoctrination. DPI has got to go. And in addition to that, I want to make sure that as we spend $15,000 on average for each child in our school systems, I want to make sure that if there is a parent who can find an education, quality education for their child that spends less than $15,000, I want to be able to work with this governor to create educational trust funds for each child, so that the difference saved can actually put in that trust fund for that child for every year they're in the K-12 system. So when they finish, they can actually invest in their future in a Wisconsin school.
He is Lieutenant Governor candidate Will Martin. Will, thank you so much for coming in today. Where can people learn more about your campaign, sir?
Will4LTGovernor.com. Will4LTGovernor.com. Please join us.
Well, thank you, sir, so much. I am Dan O'Donnell, and when we come back, we name the unhinged liberal of the day and much, much more. You're listening to The Dan O'Donnell Show.